Joining us now is Representative Debbie Lesko from Arizona to give us an inside look on what's going on in the nation's capital. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and it's great to see you, and I'm glad you have so many viewers watching.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, and but I'm just dying, and I don't know. I'm sure you don't have a lot of. They're not bringing you into the Democratic caucus to talk about some of these issues. But what are you hearing, and what are you seeing? Because we're seeing Democratic polling numbers going down, the spending, the inflation that's starting to happen. Democrats in the House, why can't they agree with each other on spending levels right now?
Well, thank God they can't. Otherwise, you know, Nancy Pelosi has a history of ramming through radical bills. And so we'll have to wait and see if she's going to threaten to take people off of committees or take away their chairmanship to get the votes. I mean, it's a real interesting dynamic because you have some, I guess you'd call moderate Democrats that are in swing districts. And they saw from the last election that Republicans gained a bunch of seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, even though they weren't expected to. And they're afraid. They're afraid about their next election because they're not as crazy as some of these really radical Democrats are. And it's just amazing to me that the Democrat Party is being led by Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, and AOC and the squad. It is absolutely out of touch with the majority of the American people. Yet this 20-some-year-old AOC has managed to move her whole party way to the left. So this bill has all kinds of radical wish list things in it that Americans just don't want.
So where we stand right now is so that the Senate has moved on this infrastructure bill, but Nancy Pelosi wants to focus more on this $3.5 trillion bill, and we're kind of at a logjam. So what do you think is going to happen here? At some point, who's going to blink, and is Pelosi going to put that infrastructure bill on the House floor soon, do you think?
Well, we're called back into session on August 23rd, and so we're expected to vote on the framework of this $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, either that day or sometime that week. And so I imagine she's going to try to get the votes to at least start the process going, get through the committees, and then the product may be a little bit different, of course, than what has already been projected out of the Senate. But it's still going to be radical. What is there, like $68 trillion in spending, more federal spending, I think, than in the entire U.S. history? Can you imagine the interest that our taxpayers are going to pay each and every year? And also, the thing that really stands out to me, because I'm from a border state, is there's zero money for border security. Yet we have this huge crisis of people flooding over our border. It just shows you what the priorities are of the Democrats. They want socialism, give away free child care, free college, free, don't show up to work because we'll provide for everything for you. This is their mentality, and it's going to ruin our country.
So let's talk about the cost of free. We're about to hit $30 trillion in debt. We're about to have our interest payments are in the next few years, in a very short period of time. We will be paying as much for interest payments as we do on national defense. And yet, you look at all the other priorities. You just mentioned the border just being wide open in a humanitarian disaster. Is this why people, like a little insight into your state, why people like your Senator Kyrsten Sinema is balking at this $3.5 trillion, while people like Bernie Sanders are saying this is a great. Bernie Sanders likes the Senate bill. That should tell you a lot.
That does tell you a lot, and so does AOC and the whole squad in the U.S. House of Representatives. And then, of course, Kamala Harris probably loves it because wasn't she ranked like more liberal than Bernie Sanders? And so the Biden administration must have sold their soul and made a deal with the devil, I think, because they are really going radical. And you're right. Our interest payments are going to be more than what we spend on our military and a combination of other things that are important for us to concentrate on such as securing our border. This is unreasonable. I think that's why Kirsten Sinema is kind of balking at it and saying this is too much spending. And you saw that over in the Senate on some of the amendments that were offered. Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin sided with Republicans on several of the amendments because they even saw it was too radical. I mean, they're in swing states. They know that they can't go this crazy, but that's where the majority of the Democrats are now. They've lost sight of reality and they've all jumped into this bandwagon of socialism, giving away free stuff, no individual liberties. They want government to mandate vaccines, mask mandates. It's just totally opposite of what the vast majority of Americans want.
Well, Congresswoman, we're running out of time here, and the way things are trending, it seems like they're trying to jam this all in before most likely they lose the House in the next election cycle, and that's going to leave it up to people like you to set things straight in the next couple of years.
Gosh, I sure do think we'll take back the majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. We really have to for the sake of our nation.
Congresswoman, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you.